Welcome to the North Coast podcast. We are here in very sunny Shoreditch in London, recording live internationally. I am Douglas Widick.
I'm Raquel Palmas.
I'm Ralph.
And we got Dr. Brick on the beat. Woo! We have an incredible guest in the studio, a.k.a. our Airbnb today. She performs all over the world. Performs with Project 2, performs with The Maydays, just joined Track 96, London's premier hip-hop improv show, and has written an incredible book called The Improvisors Way. Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay.
Wow.
Welcome to the North Coast podcast, Katy Schutte.
Hi.
We're thrilled to have you in here.
Thank you. I love this place. I kind of want to describe it for your listeners.
Do it.
If you're from London, it's the most Shoreditch place ever. If you're not, it's just really cool, aspirational cool, where they have like art, like different types of art on the walls. Gone back to brick. We've got these like industrial light bulbs hanging from a twig, which is great.
Oh yeah, Edison bulbs
cool.
hanging from a tree branch.
And a lamp made of a book. I mean, it's perfect. I love it.
It's very, very hip. It's very.
Yeah. Has everyone got tattoos in the last day? I mean, that would be the next thing to do in
Oh,
Shoreditch.
really? That's the thing? Wow.
Yeah.
What would be the ideal saying to get on a tattoo in Shoreditch? What would I
Oh.
get? Like, who's the trendy writer? Like, everybody
That's
does Kurt Vonnegut in Williamsburg, things like that.
I think it would be more like you'd get a deer face with some antlers. I don't think it would be words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what does that does that symbolize like a self-deterministic point of view?
I think I love how you're elevating Shoreditch.
You're like, it's hipster bullshit.
No, I mean, I'm always a fan of a beard, so I'm glad Shoreditch has embraced that. I look at you because you've got a fine beard.
Yes,
So I was
you
like,
do.
yes, you've popularized more beards and everyone looks cute with beards and tattoos. So I'm happy. I'm not slagging off Shoreditch. It's gorgeous.
Sure.
I guess the deer means I live in the city, but I love the countryside.
Wow.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Where do you get off? Where do you go to for the countryside?
Anywhere. This country's really small, so
Yeah.
just like pick a direction.
I love it.
And you'll hit the sea or some kind of park. It'll be
Okay.
fine.
Is Shoreditch like loved, or are there just like many opinions about the place itself?
It's quite wealthy and it's super gentrified. So there's a bit of like, it used to be arty, you know, it's the classic story of it used to be super arty and now it's very rich people. So it's kind of, it's cool. And it's a nice place to hang out and there's loads of good spots and stuff. But there's a bit of like,
This is where you're from?
No.
Yeah.
Thank you, though. No, I'm South London. I'm South. Which is
Okay,
more
what does that
like,
mean?
let's have a fight.
Wow.
Nice. Can you pull out a sweet South London accent if you needed to?
No. Sav would be like, all right, welcome to South London. Come on in.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Yeah, you want to go down the pub? Go down the boozer.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Kinda like that.
I've heard it's like in the chest. It's always like,
Yeah, can I hear? I want more of yours.
oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's here. If it could be here, maybe it'd be in my chest. I feel it deep
Yeah,
in
mate.
my.
I don't know my
Oh.
father.
Oh my God.
Just drop the words footy and mate in there and then you'll be fine.
Nailed
Footy
it.
and
Love the
mate.
footy, mate.
Footy, mate. What does footy mean?
Football.
Oh,
Oh.
in my brain, I'm like, okay, that's shoes here.
I was
Let me
like,
put
oh,
on my
footy.
footies.
Well, footsie is when you're like touching someone's foot under the table, so you don't want to mix them up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
You could get into a fight in
Right.
South London with that.
Playing
Love the
footsie
footy,
with
mate.
some-
What?
Yeah, the
What
brick
you on
builder
about?
across the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, the question on all of our minds before you got here was the Arctic.
Yeah.
We want to talk with you about the Arctic.
Oh, yes.
What?
Fill us in about that.
Here's the backstory. I'm so aware that I'm sweating loads, by the way.
And make it as basic as possible because the people
Yes.
at home might not know.
What? Why do they not follow every post of mine?
Yeah.
So I applied for this thing called the Arctic Circle program, and it's artists and scientists get together on a boat. You apply for it, and then they choose a bunch of people's projects, and then you get to spend 3.5 weeks on a sailboat in the Arctic Circle. So
A sailboat?
Yeah, like a pirate ship, essentially.
Whoa,
they didn't really like me calling it a pirate ship, but then they're like, help with the sails. And I was like, see, it's a fucking pirate ship.
They put you to
Wow.
work.
Well, it was very optional, actually. They were
Okay.
like, do you want to help with the ship? Because some people are like, I'm busy with art.
Yeah.
Quick, I'll do some painting.
Oh my gosh.
But it's cool because I'm more like writer and improviser. And then the boat had a lot of visual artists. So you start thinking in a slightly different way when you've got people that are, you know, their outlet is different.
Oh,
so
yeah.
people like at the front of this boat with 4-meter waves at one point, just with two layers of mittens on, doing a bit of watercolor. I'm like, what? How can you do that? That's insane.
Wow.
yeah,
And were
it's
orcas
bonkers.
regular sightings and polar bears?
We didn't see any polar bears,
Okay.
but the captain woke up one night at like 4 a.m. and looked around and didn't see anything. And then he woke up an hour later. He sleeps in his cabin, which is up on the top of the ship. And
I hope he
then he
does.
saw polar bear footprints.
No.
And he was like, oh, damn, I missed it. But every time you go on shore, when you get high up in the Arctic Circle, you need 3 people with guns to stake out like an area in case of polar bears.
Whoa.
Is it true that by the time you've seen one,
And I can't get over it.
what? 3
Yeah.
people with guns to stake out polar bears?
Yeah, they're not like hunting a polar bear, but they're just like protecting an area.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're like
Sure.
the apex predator of Earth, I think. They're
Yeah,
like the most
totally.
dangerous
Yeah.
animal on
Yeah.
land.
Totally.
That's incredible. What was your hairiest moment in the Arctic Circle?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if it felt scary, but I don't think it was. I don't think they'd let us do anything too scary. But we walked on sea ice, so that's pretty weird because we'd parked the ship. Look how much I learned about sailing.
Your sailboat, your Arctic
We
sailboat.
parked the boat.
I can't get over that it was a sailboat still. Yeah.
Yeah. So they'd driven a stake into the ice in order to park the ship.
Classic.
That's so much. And then they were like, "Oh, cool. Do you want to go walk on the ice?" But you can see where there's the ship, some water, very thin ice, and then just a whiteness going out. And they're like, "Just have a walk on it." And like, "Okay." And apparently they've drilled it just to check it's
To
deep
make
enough,
sure.
but you
Okay.
can sort of feel it move a little bit, and it's really
Wow.
weird.
Whoa.
It's cool though.
And how far did you go before you were like, death is imminent, I must turn around?
Well, you just hit the line where the people are with guns, and you're like, "Well, I'm not allowed to go further than
Okay.
this."
Wow.
The polar bear line.
Yeah, the polar bear line.
How big was the ship? Was it like comfortable, or were you constantly like just in tiny?
It was
Quarters,
comfortable. You were never without other people,
Right.
and I'm kind of an introvert, so I was like, "No, I sit in a corner for 5 minutes, recharge." No, everyone was really nice. Our enemy was the sea, so no one fell out.
Wow.
But yeah, it was like a 50-meter boat with about 40 people on it. So we all shared. You had a cabin mate.
So, and then
Yeah.
it's like daily artist rituals and talking about science and kissing penguins. Like what's
We had to bring penguins with us though, because it was the Arctic.
I see, I see.
Yeah. Apparently, Arctic means bears and Antarctic means no bears.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I
Isn't
had
that a fun
no
fact?
idea.
So that's how you
Okay.
can remember it. It
Yeah.
just means like no bears, and there's penguins in one. And there's
Arctic
bears
means
in the other.
bears. Antarctic, no bears. Arctic means bears. Antarctic means 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 no bears.
Guess I need to be prepared. If I'm gonna be in the Arctic, there might be some bears. I guess I'm scared, but not really, kinda. They're 3 gunmen, and they're gonna shoot 'em fine. And just kidding, we're all safe. But I got lots of kisses and this gaff tape to make art on the boat. Ideas keep this world afloat.
Arctic means bears. Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears. Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears. Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears. Antarctic means no bears.
Polar, no solar. You see, it gets colder, and we on the sail ship don't know where we going. Walking on ice, and I don't know if it's floating. Can't see none in front of me. Where is I going? They in front of me and guns they is holding in case these bears come and they start just approaching. They start approaching and I'm gonna start running. Go back to my cabin, just be alone for a second.
Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears. 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 I'm on the south of the planet, I'm feeling so divine. I look out the window and I see a bear, but it's not Berenstein. It's the one that's about to be covered in white fur. It is the planet's premier apex predator, but I want to give it a hug. I want to give it a kiss. If I could hug that bear, it would be such bliss. I would feel so bold. But it's damn too cold. Want to give that bear a little roly, roly, roll. Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears. The rolling sea. Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears.
Yeah, it's pretty nice and icy. Wanna go out at night? Well, you can't see, 'cause it's always day up there. You can hide behind any kind of polar bear if you want a shadow. And you want night? Well, tough shit, motherfucker, because it's always light. It's always light. Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears, one has Antarctic means no bears. Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears.
Brought our own penguins.
Arctic means bears, Antarctic means no bears.
Always Yay. Was there a big adjustment period to coming back? Like, were you like, wait, it's like, I was used to that now for a little bit?
Yeah,
three weeks. Yeah,
Huh?
it's 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's like 3.5 weeks, and all the time building up to it, you're like, I'm going to the Arctic. So, like, normal life is already weird. The weirdest thing, though, was trees. I know that sounds weird, but everything was monochrome, and there's no trees at that altitude. So I came back, it was spring, so London's really, really green, and all the flowers have gone crazy and beautiful colors. And it just, if you haven't seen color and trees for nearly a month, it's like, what?
Whoa.
I wanted to go up to people and be like, oh my God, look, there's a tree.
Yeah.
Should we hug it? It's so green. This is insane. So I became like more of
You're
a hippie for another
It was like you had gone to one of those retreats, the no talking retreats, and you
Yeah,
came back. Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
cool.
so crazy. And then I have so many questions, but how do you where do you take a plane to get to the Arctic?
Oh,
like the
yeah.
actual logistics of getting there. Were you American geography is not real.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know the geography, so I went there either. So Tromsø, which is at the top of Norway, which is like, where we are. So if you go right of England, there's like all the Nordic countries, and Finland's on the like British side, if that makes sense. So the top of that, and then we got on a boat and crossed the Barents Sea for days. And then we ended up at Svalbard, which is like it has the northernmost town in the world, and it's an archipelago, so it's like a big island and lots of little islands around it.
I was like, an archipelago is a pretty bird.
Wicked, made of ice.
Yeah. It's a nice bird.
Yeah. But the weird thing was, like, we were supposed to go to this island first, like go there, get on the boat, sail around the island. But there were storms, so the boat couldn't cross the sea before we got there. So we had to get on the boat for the crossing, which no one on this program has ever done, because they don't want to put a bunch of artists through days of seasickness. But
And you went through days of seasickness.
it was terrible. I was like, I kind of got there and went, I don't think I've ever slept on a boat before. Huh. And then they were like, okay, make sure all your stuff is tied down. They tied the chairs to the floor. They like, make everything sea safe. And it's like, what is going to happen? They're like, make sure you put the plank on the side of your bed so you don't fall out. And I was like, oh my God, I never even considered that this might be.
Yeah, like this is like real life
Crazy.
expedition shit. Like
Yeah.
Were you nauseous a lot? Or?
Yeah, I think most people were. The people that had been sailing before had these like, you're nodding, Doug, like you know the sailing patch thing.
Yeah.
It's a patch that a lot of like cancer patients have to stop the nausea of the drugs. So people use it for sailing. So you just stick it to your neck and it does the right amount of drugs.
Is that like a Dramamine drip or whatever? Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably.
Holy moly.
But I took some drugs and they were like, the best thing to do is just sleep. So I kind of lost 2 days where I'd weirdly get up and eat food because it does make you feel better, even though you're like, the last thing I want to do is eat anything ever. But then you feel better. Yeah, it was pretty rough, but only for a couple of days. And it wasn't. God. And then everyone got COVID.
No. How'd you get COVID all the way out there?
Holy shit.
Just, it's
someone
a boat
had
full
it.
of 40 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
there was
from
someone
all over the
incubating
world.
and then,
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, no.
I kind of went to, do you have measles parties in the States, or did you back in the day?
No.
LOL.
Okay. This might be like
Maybe when
50
FDR was
years old.
president. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was this. It didn't happen to me as a kid, but I think before they could inoculate properly against it. But anyway, so about a month before I went to the Arctic, I was like, I don't want to get COVID and then not be able to fly. That would be like the worst thing because I've just spent so long planning for this. So I went to a party with a lot of my irresponsible friends because I was like, I'll get COVID. And then I did.
Wow.
I was like, cool. Well, that's me done. I've had it. Can't get it on the ship. Which turned out to be a good plan. Apart from COVID is awful, obviously, and ruined 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you gave birth to some sort of art while you were there. What did you write?
Yeah.
What did you work on?
I've got a play. I haven't written it, but I've got all the story and the characters and everything. And then I've just been spending time. Oh, it's so fun trying to get arts funding. Yay!
Hey.
But I have a theatre that wants to put it on. So as soon as I get some money, then I get to make it.
Oh, that's
cool.
good.
Mhm.
Are there lots of grants in in London for
Yeah,
art?
it's all really competitive. What's it like in the States for arts funding and stuff?
I think about the same, but
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
competitive. There's this thing called Art New York
Uh-huh.
that supports independent theater companies. We're a member of it. Thank you. They
Hey.
help us. They help us get. Yeah. Shout out to Corrine Woods, our director at Art New York. And they help you. They lead you towards grants that are right for you. So that's cool, and you pay a small yearly fee to them. But I've heard that London's quite good about some of that. Like there's a lot of availability. So I hope you get your funding.
Me too. Yeah.
What's
There's
it
also, it's a Lovecraftian horror.
Cool.
Lovecrafty. Tell us more about what that
So
means.
that's like cosmic horror. It's so nichey, but
Like
if-
H.P. Lovecraft,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The writer. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
so like people going slightly mad at the end of the world. A bit like The Thing, I guess, but without aliens.
You mean like
Does
what's
it go with
happening
your
right now?
hope stuff that you work on in your project too? Like a more hope-based sci-fi?
No, this one's really desolate.
Oh, nice.
It's dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did do Hope Punk with Project 2. So Hope Punk, for anyone that doesn't know, I only learned recently. So Hope Punk is this idea, it doesn't have to be attached to sci-fi, but it's a kind of type of genre where even if everything's super bleak and awful, there's a kernel in it of but there are good people who want to do something to help everyone. That's basically the thing. So Mad Max Fury Road, that's Hope Punk.
Yeah.
Because you've got all the women with the seeds. And you're like, there might be a better future for humanity.
Right. They let the water loose at the end. Yeah,
exactly. So, yeah, me and Chris have been playing with that because our sci-fi used to be super dark, and it is still sometimes. But now the world has got super dark, so we're like, maybe we'll be light relief instead.
Nice.
You know.
Nice. And so your show is desolate and dark, though. The one you wrote.
The one I'm writing, yeah.
Coincidentally, in a very dark place. Well, actually, you said it's
it
light
was
all
light
year.
the whole time.
Right.
Ooh, here's a weird thing about crossing the sea, which is I was watching the sunset one night. It's good to be up on deck so you don't get seasick. Watching the sun go down, I was like, oh, what a beautiful sunset to someone else. And they were like, oh, it's a sunrise. And I went, what? I've just seen the sun go below the horizon. And they were like, it's a sunrise. And then the sun comes up again. And I'm like, what is happening? And because we were going north at this high latitude, we overtook the sun. How mad is that? My brain doesn't compete whatsoever.
I'm obsessed with this.
I think you need to go.
That
I
is
think you have to
frightening.
go there.
It's your time,
It's
Raquel.
maddening. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I know. It is so weird.
I heard in the summers in Iceland, that's what happens. The sun just goes down a little bit, and then it goes back up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a celebration on Svalbard a little while before we got there when they celebrate the first glimpse of the sun. So everyone comes out and parties because they're like, there it is. And it's like a second.
Cool.
And they're like, yeah, it's back. Woo.
Oh,
Pretty crazy.
And then, so like time-wise, how did you keep track of time for hours? It's like you just have to choose your own kind of cycle of being.
I mean, it's like, meals on a ship. They end up being your
Gotcha.
kind of cycle, I suppose. But then it's weird if you're like, oh, I'll just go and look on deck. Or you're chatting and then you go outside and you're like, oh, it's 2 a.m. or something. It's a bit weird. Yeah.
Well, how did you end up interacting with the scientists on the ship? What was the activities or things you guys did together?
So there weren't. You kind of ask for activities in a way because everyone's brought a project. So we had someone that was gene sequencing out there. So she was like, I just need to get samples from everywhere. That was my face too. Also, I have like
they got the patch there. Gene sequencing.
I have a general crush on science. So I'm like blown away by anything remotely sciencey. People are like, yeah, it's really boring and nerdy. I'm like, tell me all the details. And my cabin mate was, she knows all about ice. Like her whole PhD or whatever is about types of ice. So I was like, just so you know, anytime you want to point at a bit of ice and tell me about it, I'm never going to be bored by that. So she's like, this is pancake ice. Here's how it's formed. And I was like, oh. And she told me, God, I could just be here for 8 hours.
So good.
I'm so excited. She was like, okay, 1 year ice. And I'm sorry if I get this wrong, Molly.
Shout outs to Monty on the deck.
My Arctic wife.
Literally on the deck.
She's my Arctic wife. But 1 year ice is like salty and has bubbles in it. So it's been formed like within a year. And then by 2 years, the salt and the bubbles have gone. So you know what age it is. Isn't that crazy?
It's like tree.
Yeah. So that's so weird. But yeah.
Got a crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Katie's got a crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I see you there. You're looking nice. I got a crush on that 1 year block of ice. It's so good. I'm not in trouble. I can tell you're 1 year old by the bubble. I love a little fact. You never bore me. Come into my cabin, Monty. I want to know about everything you're learning because art is subjective and what you're doing is slightly less. Crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Katie's got a crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Periodic tables. Yeah, we're not telling no fables. Yeah, we want just all facts. Yeah, how do these elements react?
Ooh.
Yeah, sun coming back up, it just went down. Oh no, I can't tell what time is it now. Oh man, I sure gotta run. Oh, I went too fast, I overtook the sun.
I got a crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I got a crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I wanna touch, I wanna grope that growing isotope. What is your genetic code? What's the sequence for that code? I'm trying to find out what's in your DNA. Do you like to smart or play? Do you like to walk on some ice? Or we gonna polar bear kiss and vibe? I got a crush on science. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Tell me about the Krebs cycle. Science. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Wow. So did this person that knew a lot about ice make a mean cocktail? Because I feel like you could.
It's kind of salty. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was good. Oh, I'm just like alcohol. So on the boat, they bought beer in. So beer prices are different in different places in the world, right? So there's a rule on a boat where you have to sell the beer for the price of that country. Oh. So as soon as we passed a certain latitude, it was like beer's cheaper now. It's so weird.
On the boat.
On the boat.
That is so weird.
Wait, so what governs that? It's just like that's just the trusted law of the boat.
I think because it's sea law.
Maritime law.
It's the subsection. So I think because when we flew into Norway, that's like, I guess you have to pay tax and stuff. But then Svalbard doesn't belong to any country. It's like administered by Norway, but it's nobody's. So you can't be born there. You can't die there. I'm immortal. So that's pretty crazy. So there's no kind of tax, I guess. Maybe that's why.
Shocking. So the second you hit Svalbard, beer got cheaper.
Yeah.
So cool. What were you gonna say, Ralph?
I'm very curious about your take, because I don't know that I like sci-fi or don't like sci-fi. I don't know. What do you think the connection is, if any, between sci-fi and improv? How do they relate? How do they connect in your point of view? Because I know you deal with both worlds.
Yeah. I think like a lot of improv, it's storytelling and truth. And I think the most interesting thing about sci-fi is the humanity in it. So it's still very much about relationships and connection. So I think when some people think about sci-fi, they just think of kind of the tropes. So it's very much like, oh, it's the future, or it's high tech, or it's post-apocalyptic or something. But really it comes down to for us anyway, it comes down to the people and how they connect with each other and how they're experiencing what's going on. So in a way, it acts as a metaphor and an exploration of modern life or whatever issues are coming up. So all those kind of post-apocalyptic kind of sci-fis are a lot about climate change, right? So it's a way of commenting on something, but it being distracting and like, oh, it's fiction. But then when you think about it, you're like, oh, this is a comment on real stuff. That for me, that's what it is. But in terms of improv, I guess we're discovering something new all the time. So I suppose that's the same with sci-fi, of like, what's an unexplored place or somewhere we want to go with our brain that's surprising and interesting. Yeah.
How does external factors that are not within our current reality help you tell, and this might be a way too abstract of a question,
I like it,
but like things like spaceships and crazy planets and all these things help you tell the story of humanity? Like why are they sometimes the perfect metaphor for what we're going through right now?
Because I don't think you attach your judgment to it in the same way as your lived experience. So you're looking at it in the abstract, like you say. So it's kind of like, oh, those crazy people, why are they, looking back at old Star Trek, it's like so colonial. It's like, hi, everyone, your laws are wrong on this planet. We will change you for the better. And you're like, well, I guess that's what was still going on in our culture at the time.
Sure.
But it can be a comment on it as well. So if you're watching like Discovery or something now, like, oh, look where the power is and the diversity and the difference in how people treat, a new planet. So it's just an extended metaphor, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Whoopi Goldberg.
What?
That's it. That's
She's an extended metaphor.
Yeah. I'm just going to start responding to things with, Whoopi Goldberg. Okay, so I'm just going
to elaborate on Whoopi
Yes,
Goldberg.
actually,
I just know she
Star
was
Trek?
in The Next Generation.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Oh,
Yeah,
She had
Whoopi
that mad
Goldberg.
cool hat.
Cool hat?
She had
a cool hat. She had like this purple outfit.
Yeah.
Well, I think we know what the thumbnail for this episode is going to be. It's Whoopi Goldberg in her cool Star Trek hat.
Whoopi Goldberg.
I want to get even nerdier with you, if you don't mind. I want to go deeper.
Yes.
Okay, so much of comedic improv is these little comedy pattern escalators that drop off to callback city, and then it's over, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the American style.
Yeah.
And then I've noticed that in Europe, people love to improvise story and plot a little bit heavier. You've trained everywhere. You know every style. Are you, in your brain, are you calibrating per who I'm on stage with and what they're comfortable with? How do you calibrate all these different approaches to long form?
Yeah, exactly that. I'm like, what? And actually, me and Chris kind of do this in our show, in that we get a suggestion, and then the first couple of scenes are calibrating what the sci-fi is. So if it's like, we start getting laughs at the beginning. We're like, oh, it's a comedy one. And if it's got a load of space in it and it's really slow burn, we're like, this is more like Solaris or something where we're going to sit back and be super realistic and chill. But yeah, when I play with other people, it's very much like what's already happening.
The original or the remake?
The original.
Okay.
Come on. Have you seen?
And for
I've only
everybody else
seen the
who
remake.
doesn't know what that is, because I know what that is.
What's the name of the original director?
Solaris.
Solaris.
It's like 70s, really, really slow sci-fi where people just sit around and kind of go, and then it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
like
Where-
Twin Peaks-ish?
It's like a Russian or no?
Yeah,
I
a little
forget.
bit. It's not surreal in the same way as Twin Peaks, but it is a little bit because people
Kinda
start seeing
surreal.
echoes of their past lives, and it. I was going to tell you the ending, but I don't want to. It's got a really cool story. Yeah.
I've only seen the
Wow.
remake. If the original's better, then it's probably really good because
Yeah.
the remake I think is really good.
Yeah, it's a great story. for
Viola,
sure.
it's one of the first times I've ever seen Viola Davis is
Oh,
in that
cool, yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's from like 2009.
Yeah. There was a
remake.
stage show of it in London actually that was really
Wow.
cool. I was like, good luck. Oh, no, it's brilliant.
Yeah. I guess I should have trusted these veteran actors and writers.
At the Royal Court. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course it's brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, so you're calibrating genre, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, based on the people on stage with me, I can or cannot hit certain plot moves with them. Like, is there? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but then I feel like I don't particularly do plot moves as such because then you're like, come with me and do this. I guess it's more like I will acknowledge that something could be plot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, oh, if this is a story, that is significant. So, you
Yeah.
know, when you watch a movie and they're like, oh, mum's sick, you're like, well, someone wrote that line there for a reason. Like, they
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
just throw it away. You're like, okay, well, she's going to die in this movie and it's going to be really tragic.
Okay, so
you know?
acknowledging the Chekhov's gun in any given story. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I learned the phrase Chekhov's skills recently. Have you heard
Oh,
that?
is it better than gun because of
No,
like
it's-
gun violence in America being out of control?
Yeah, we'll just bury the
Yeah.
gun.
Do you remember in Amsterdam when we were doing that warm up and everybody made fun of us, our American group, because of
gosh.
gun violence? Do you
Oh,
remember that?
no.
You were
No,
in the
I
room, I
blocked it out.
believe.
I
Oh,
can't
okay. All
remember.
right.
No,
Back
I'm
to
so sorry
back
that
to the
happened.
main
Did
plot.
everyone go USA?
They were basically like, "You guys are very violent."
Jeez.
Yeah, I blocked it out.
Okay, back to you. Sorry.
Yeah. What was I talking about? Oh, the calibration thing. Oh, yeah, Chekhov's skills. So it's like in stuff like Stranger Things or coming of age kind of adventure stories. If a kid's like, I really like my magazines or something, or like I like reading comics, then you're like, okay, that's your superpower that's going to be useful later. Like they will know what Spider-Man will do, and therefore they'll solve the story. Or if someone's like, I talk to animals, you'll be like, right, well that's going to be your useful skill, and it could be anything.
I love it.
Can even be someone's really cross at their shitty dad,
Yeah.
and then you'd be like, oh, cool, you're going to use the anger later, or
Yeah.
intimidate someone or something.
Oh.
So it's just that fundamental thing of like taking people's endowments and really treating it as a gift later. Okay.
But also, like, I might put things on the table in any improv scenario, and you can see whether people play in that way or not. So if it's like a game move, if someone's like not responding to it, you have the choice of, well, I'll keep escalating this game, or you can just be like, cool, then it's not their style or they're not picking up on it, so I'll just kind of leave it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's responding, but also
Yeah.
making different offers and
Yeah.
seeing
And that's
what
generous in its own way because you're saying, all right, oh, that's what you want to do? Then I'll
Yeah.
do that with you. Okay.
and seeing what's fun for people. I mean, that's the ultimate thing, isn't it? If someone's like, "Oh, I'm not having a good time," you're like, "Well, I'll stop bullying you on stage. You obviously don't like that." Or they seem to really like this physical game. I'll like push that.
Okay.
You know,
Cool.
That's so interesting how improv is like sort of choose your own adventure, but also it's, I don't know if it's the same here, but like I mostly come from the People's Improv Theater in New York. Now I'm giving them a free shout out. I don't know why, but like they're big on jam culture.
Yeah.
Back in the day, at least. So it's like a lot of midday and then late at night jams.
Cool.
And those jams, you're gonna get. It's a wild group coming in.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people may be housing challenged or have some be mentally on the frontier, You know what I mean? You're dealing with a lot of different people, and they're just coming up on your name's just coming out of a hat, and you got to play with this person, and but then there's all kinds of people in between, so you're just like learning people in a very unique way, learning to deal with people, learning to understand people, learn people, because you're just getting up to play for 5 or 7 minutes, just play pretend with this person you've never met, and they could be very much like you, very different from you. You don't know, and it's such an interesting thing. Okay, I'm going to throw this out, even if it's with very experienced improvisers. I'm going to throw this out, and I'm going to see how you react to it. What are you responding to? Where do we connect on our Venn diagram of personality or humanity or whatever? It's such an interesting. There's so many people that I've played very intimate scenes with that I don't know. I see them around, but we only know each other. It's almost like we make a deal. Like, we will only know each other this way. We're not going to become friends or anything, but we play together a lot. It's very interesting.
That kind of reminds me of your Play Like Brené workshop. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So I like Brené Brown. So she's this, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of her, but she's basically came from being a shame researcher. So she does a lot of stuff about vulnerability and courage, but it's all based on her being a researcher. So it sounds a bit new agey, but then she's like, haha, science. Which is kind of nice.
Oh, wow.
A bit cynics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought there was quite a lot of crossover between her work and improv, because it is about being kind of vulnerable and open and honest and pushing yourself and challenging yourself to do different things, and coming up against stuff like, what's the meaningful work you want to make, and how do you get rid of like self-doubt and supposed to. So yeah, I just started doing some sessions where I'd take her guideposts for wholehearted living and use that as just a general a guidepost for that improv session. So like so last night I was doing the 9th guidepost, so that cultivating meaningful work and letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. So I had a room full of improvisers, slightly different levels, like most of them new long form, but I was like, well, what do you want to see on stage? What don't you see on stage? Are there any kind of rules or guidelines or things that you think are established in improv that you want to change? And then they all kind of created new interesting work. And it's that thing you were saying about jams of actually, it's really cool when people don't have the same training or background as you, or any necessarily, that you're genuinely, it's surprising and cool, and you get something you might not have got from someone who's been through the schools and stuff, right? So
show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be. Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be. Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be. Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be.
I want to play like Brené. I'm going to do it all day. I want a big old hat that says play like Brené. I want to hang with Katy in her shoot workshop. I want to do it, and I will hip hop. But it's just supposed to be scenes. It's supposed to be emotional. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. You know it's devotional. It's all the ways to cultivate wholehearted living. When you're on stage with your scene partner and you're giving.
Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be. Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be.
Gonna get rid of fear, gonna live in the ring. Like Theodore said, you can't live without giving a vulnerable self and really flying. Cause it's okay to be imperfect cause you are trying. Get rid of what's supposed to be. Let yourself go, yeah, let yourself free. No stereotypes, just living your life. Exploring, exploding, and doing what you like.
Get rid of supposed to see.
Get rid of supposed to be.
I tried.
Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be. I like improv as a microcosm of community and chaos. I don't bother trying to get it straight. I just go and I just rumble. I'm just playing, not playing safe. I'm just going. All kinds of people, all kinds of folks, all want love. We all getting smoked. All out here, we all playing games. Many different levels, many different tiers, and there's no shame.
Wanna see.
Get rid of supposed to be. Show us what you want to see. Get rid of supposed to be.
Yeah, I want to play like Brené and do it all night. I want to show my vulnerability is really my might. Yeah, I got strength. I got it all day. So if you want to play, then get with Brené. Yeah. You can feel it inside. Just turn off your shame about shame and get fly. Yeah, step up. Be your own true self. You can pick yourself up off that shame shelf.
Wanna see.
Dare greatly.
Get rid of supposed to be.
Get rid of it.
Glennon Doyle. Get rid of wanna see.
Get rid of supposed to be.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Shame is vulnerability.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the North Coast Podcast. You can follow us at North Coast NYC on all social media. Also follow Katy Schutte on all her social media accounts. Amazing shows if you're ever in London. And check us out on our mailing list. We have classes and shows, and you can follow us there. Thank you.